What is up, guys? Stark here. I am back for a new character spotlight, and in this character spotlight we are taking a look at the new 4-star servant coming out with the return of Shiki's event, and that is going to be Asagami Fujino. Now, Fujino is probably the rarest character in the game to get, and that's mainly because she only has ever come out one time on the game, and this is going to be that time for us. So she's just coming out, and if you don't get her now, you probably won't get her. I imagine eventually she'll come back, but as of right now, she's only been available once, so you definitely want to make sure you get her. Now, the question is if she's actually good or not, and in my opinion, the short answer to that question is yes, absolutely. She's a very good character, definitely worth going after, especially because she's only available this one time. I definitely think you should go out of your way and get her. So she is a 4-star archer, and at level 80 she will have 11,025 HP and 10,299 attack. This will rank her 118th overall in HP and 61st overall in attack. Her star absorption is 148, her star generation is 7.9, and her noble phantasm generation on her attacks is 0.59%, and on defense it's 3%. So Fujino is a, as I said, very powerful character, especially for a 4-star character. So if you're not necessarily having a lot of 5 stars and you do manage to pull Fujino, especially in the archer category, she is going to be a fantastic asset to your teams. And so her first skill is going to be the Mystic Eyes of Distortion EX. This will increase her own Buster Card effectiveness for 3 turns, as well as apply Ignore Defense, and this will also increase her Noble Phantasm gain for 3 turns. This is a really good skill here. You're going to get a big increase to a lot of different effects, and at level 10 there'll be a 35% increase to your Buster Card effectiveness for 3 turns, so you're going to be doing a lot of Buster damage there, and your Noble Phantasm gain will also go up by 30%. This is on a 5-turn charge time, so it's going to be a very low cooldown. You'll be able to recycle this very quickly, and you also will be able to ignore defense, which is always a big thing, so you'll just trample through that and do a ton of extra damage. Her second skill is going to be the Clairvoyance Darkness C, which will apply Sure Hit for 3 turns, as well as granting her critical stars. So not only does she ignore defense, she'll also be able to ignore evasion with the Sure Hit ability, and that's going to be really cool. So she's basically going to just pierce through pretty much any sort of defense that you have, with the exception of invincibility, and you'll also be able to get a boost to your critical stars, having 15 critical stars there at level 10. This is also on a 5-turn charge time at maximum level, so not too bad. This one's a little bit worse off as far as cooldowns go than her first skill, because you only have Sure Hit to go off of. The critical stars is just a one and done thing. So not too bad there, but being able to ignore defense and evasion at the same time is going to be very helpful. Or you can just split them up and do her first skill first and then her second skill, and make sure you have some sort of defensive pierce at all times. That's always a good option to do. Also, you could just wait for the enemy to put up their evasion and then just use this skill and go from there. There's a lot of different ways you could use this skill. You could also just use it for a flat increase for your stars if you need a little bit extra for like a burst turn or something. And finally, her third skill is going to be the Remaining Sense of Pain A. This will apply Damage Cut for 3 turns. This will also apply Guts for herself for 1 time over the course of 3 turns, and this will also decrease her own maximum HP by 2,000. So this is a little bit of a weird skill. You'll have Damage Cut for 3 turns at 2,000 at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time. Again, really low cooldown, so that's going to be very helpful. But you're also decreasing your own HP by 2,000. So it kind of offsets itself a little bit with the same amount of reduction to your HP as the increase to your damage cut. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. If they're not hitting that hard, you'll be able to reduce the damage overall, and since it lasts for 3 turns instead of 1 turn, you do get basically 2 extra turns of defense, I guess, if you want to put it that way. It's kind of weird, though, that they do it this way. It's really simple to get around it, though, just taking a character that can increase your own maximum HP. So, for instance, Merlin is a good option. Ereshkigal is another good option. If you don't have either of those for free-to-play characters, don't necessarily recommend it, but Huara Tota does the same thing, being able to increase your HP for your entire team. So that'll be a 2,000 increase there, and then you basically offsets it and get a 2,000 damage cut for 3 turns. So that's not bad. But yeah, not a big deal. definitely options to get around it, especially with Merlin, who is one of the most used support characters. Even if you don't have Merlin, you can just take a support Merlin and just erase that and also get your increase to your Buster card effectiveness, which is going to be very helpful for her. She does have 3 passives, the first one being the Magic Resistance D, which will increase her debuff resistance by 12.5%. The second one is the Independent Action A+, which will increase her critical strength by 11%. And finally, she has the Territory Creation B, which will increase her arts card effectiveness by 8%. So all in all, I think she has a pretty good set of skills. However, she does have that negative effect on her third skill, so she will naturally lose a few points there. And overall, I will give her 4 out of 5 stars in her skills. So now let's go ahead and take a look at her command card chains and her Noble Phantasm. For her command card deck, she has a pretty balanced deck. She has 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 buster, and then the hit counts are going to be 3 on the quick. Actually, it's going to be 3 across the board and 5 on her extra attack. So she got pretty good hit counts there. She got a pretty balanced deck. She can do some pretty good damage and some pretty good Noble Phantasm generation. So for her command chains, her best offensive command chain is going to be Buster Arts, Buster Extra. Her Noble Phantasm chain is going to be Arts, 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 but you're going to be using a ally as your Arts card on the first Arts card. That'll give you 51% to your Noble Phantasm gauge. And then for critical stars, you're going to go Buster, Buster, Quick, Extra Attack for 14 total critical stars. As for her Noble Phantasm, this will deal damage to a single enemy as well as inflicting buff block to that enemy for 1 time, but over the course of 3 turns. So anytime that enemy uses a buff, or the first time that enemy uses a buff in those 3 turns, it will be ignored, which is going to be really nice, especially if you know that enemy is going to buff themselves. You can go ahead and use her Noble Phantasm and just prevent that buff. Her Overcharge will also decrease the attack of that enemy by 10 to 30% for 3 turns. All in all, though, I'll say it's a pretty good Noble Phantasm, does a pretty solid amount of damage, and it has some pretty good effects there as well. Overall, I'll give her a 4 out of 5 for her damage output. She can do some really good damage, especially comboed in with her first skill. And as a 4-star character, that's a pretty good amount of damage to be able to dish out for herself to do. And honestly, you just bring in, like I said, bring in Merlin, who helps get rid of the negative effects of her third skill while also boosting her attack at the same time, and you're just going to be able to do a ton of extra damage with her. And her Noble Phantasm is Buster as well, so you can do Buster Brave Chains with her on her Noble Phantasm turn. For her critical ability, she is only going to get 3.5 stars. She really doesn't have much for crits. She does gain 15 stars with her second skill, which is nice, and she does have really high absorption to begin with. So all in all, though, she's not really going to be a critical dealer. If you want stars or increase your crit damage, you're going to have to bring someone else in. So just going to give her nice, easy 3.5 stars there. A little bit better than average, but nothing too special. For her Noble Phantasm, I'm going to award her 4.5 stars. She has a good Noble Phantasm in my opinion. It does a pretty respectable amount of damage, as well as having some really good effects on top of that. And being able to stop the enemy's buffs are going to be very huge in a lot of boss fights. She also does have good Noble Phantasm gain. So yeah, 4.5 stars for that. And then for her survivability, she will also get 4.5 stars. Even though her third skill reduces her own maximum HP, it is offset by the damage cut, which is going to be very helpful, especially if they're dealing less than 2,000 damage, then you're not taking damage from it. So it does have its bonuses, even though it does have that negative there. You are also applying guts to yourself, so if you do happen to get killed in those 3 turns, then you will come back. Now, it is only with 1 HP, but at the same time, you're coming back and you have your defense to help keep you alive, or you have other characters you can bring in that can help bring her back up. But just being able to have that guts on top of the damage cut is going to be very helpful. She does also have her Noble Phantasm that can reduce the enemy's attack, which in turn will help her stay alive because you're reducing the attack, and comboed that with the damage cut means they're going to do less damage, potentially even not doing any damage to you at all, if you can get it under 2,000. So it's going to be a very, very good thing. For her versatility, she is only going to get 4 stars here. It's still pretty good though, but she is a very selfish servant. She doesn't have any sort of support outside of just your characters getting the bonuses from what she's doing to the enemy. So being able to decrease the enemy's attack will also help keep your other characters alive as well, and being able to get rid of buffs is going to be helpful for them as well. But she is a very selfish servant. She has all of her effects just target herself. but at the same time, she is really good for it. So you just want to bring in characters that can support her, and you should be fine. All in all, though, she is a very good character, and overall, she will get a 4.2 out of 5. I think that's a pretty respectable ranking for a 4-star character. She's definitely up there, better than some of the 5-star characters in the game. So don't hesitate to pull for her. I definitely think she is someone you should pull for, someone worth pulling for. Even if you do have a lot of archers, I do think you should still pull for her anyway, because she's just very limited and she doesn't come back. So just to have her there as like even if it's just a token character, be like, hey, I have Fujino, you know, I'm cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video. Like I said, she doesn't come back, so I have no banners to show for the remainder of the year or in the future. So that's it. That segment is just going to get scrapped for this video because there's nothing to talk about. But if you did like the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I have the links below to my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord. So feel free to check those out. And I will leave you here with Fujino's Noble Phantasm, and I'll see you guys next time.
上がれ上がれ